It's Jim, it's Amadeus, and it's Tuesday. And boys and girls, some action going on in soccer and basketball tonight. They start the playoffs, and baseball is getting ready. Well, just got ready for week 2. So Amadeus, what's on your radar, man? What are you looking at and saying, I wonder what's going to happen here?
Yeah, well, the first thing on my radar is going to be starting in about an hour. We got the Champions League quarterfinals here. Two
Mhm.
big matches on the slate: Benfica versus Inter Milan, and obviously the big one, Man City versus Bayern Munich. So it's gonna be an exciting afternoon, that's for sure.
What are your thoughts on those games?
Yeah, so I find it interesting because Benfica was around plus 110, plus
Hmm.
105 yesterday, and now they're all the way up to plus 137, plus 140 ish. So definitely, some money coming in on Inter Milan. This is going to be an interesting game because Inter Milan just faced a Portuguese side in their last Champions League round. They got past Porto, which they won on aggregate 1-0 after a very slim 1-0 win at home and a 0-0 draw away. So it's going to be interesting. Inter leans heavily on their defense. They're not in good form right now. I've talked a lot about how this coach is done. The Italian tabloids are all over Inzaghi. Even if he wins the Champions League and the Coppa Italia, he's getting sacked. There's no saving his job. So it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches this one, knowing he's probably not going to have a job in the summertime. Benfica's had a really strong home advantage. You would think the under is, tempting in this game just because two very good defenses. But yeah, Benfica's got a very good attack at home. They score a lot of goals there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up opening this one up because they're the kind of team where every Champions League match they've faced or they've played, even if they didn't need to win it, they were already up like 4-1 on aggregate. They
Hmm.
just come out and steamroll the team anyway. So, they're definitely going to be focused on this match, and they're coming off a loss to Porto in their domestic league in Portugal. So, probably we're looking ahead to this spot.
This is it. And so, who do you think's going to be in the finals?
It's gonna be it's definitely gonna be interesting. I think Man City probably qualifies over Bayern Munich. I would think Benfica is going to qualify over Inter Milan. I even at the home leg, I can't see Inter Milan, doing much there. They really haven't been playing well. They're not scoring goals. Their defense is okay, but they're still giving up like a goal a game lately. Um, and then obviously, tomorrow's matches. There's the AC Milan and my good old team versus Napoli, and that's one I think Napoli's probably going to advance in. Uh, AC Milan just beat them 4-0, and that was probably the wrong thing to do ahead of this match, considering that Napoli hasn't played their best player in either meeting with AC Milan this year. So
There
yeah,
you go.
he'll be back for that one. So yeah, I could see Napoli advancing, and I think Real Madrid's probably going to advance past Chelsea. So those are the four I think we see in the semifinals.
Well, that'd be fun. That'd be a very good Final Four, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely some high quality. Obviously, you got the defending champion in there. Um, you'll have an Italian team, a Portuguese team, and then obviously the Man City, the Giants. So if it pans out that way, then it would be very interesting. A lot of representation from some different countries there.
Yeah, which at the end of the day, you want to see that. You want to see as many countries involved as possible, and
Exactly.
and then, it's also the different styles, right? I mean, you see different styles that you know uh, implemented in there, and traditionally there haven't been a lot of giant killers in that tournament, right?
It all depends, right? Usually
Mhm.
it's pretty the Giants get through up until around like the quarters and semis, then things start to go a little awry. Like you got Man City obviously hasn't won a Champions League under their over even in their dominant years, they haven't won the elusive Champions League title yet. And it's just something where they always run into a team that happens to beat them, whether it's I think a few years ago it was Chelsea in the finals. They beat them
Mhm.
in a low scoring. It was like 1-0 or something like that. So yeah, as you touched on it, there's different styles. Some teams like to come out and attack and score goals, like Real Madrid. They go down in a 2-0 hole, and they're not worried about it because they can score. And then there's other teams like Chelsea in the past, and this Inter Milan team. They're going to try and hold you to 0-0 the whole match, and just win a defensive game on a fluke goal or something, and just defend their leads. So it's always interesting to see how the different styles match up in this tournament.
Well, the other part of the equation is that you've got uh, passionate fan bases. So that brings everybody, out, and it really, hopefully, it's a good thing for the sport when you have that kind of, representation.
Yeah, probably not so much Man City, but
Well, okay, fine. Yeah.
but yeah, definitely a lot of passionate fan bases here. You got
Sells a
some
lot of merch. Yeah.
big clubs too, right? Like
Mhm.
Real Madrid is obviously a huge club in
Mhm.
Spain. Even three Italian teams that are still left: AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Napoli. Those are all
Mhm.
Italian giants, really.
Right.
The only one
It's-
missing is Juventus and Roma in there.
right. Well, okay, so there's that. What happens? We talked about um, one of the favorites to be there is PSG, and they're not. What happens next at PSG?
Yeah, that's gonna be it's definitely gonna be something to watch this summer. As Sean has talked about it and I've talked about it, it's just it
Mhm.
looks like they're gonna blow up in the summertime. Messi doesn't want to be there. Mbappe wants to leave. He's probably gonna play out his contract, but these Neymar hasn't played in like the last few months now, so
Well, it's been a lot of birthday.
yeah, a lot of birthday. One just massive collective hangover
Right,
from
right.
the one birthday, I guess.
Yeah. Just, it's tough. It's tough.
But
But,
yeah, I think definitely PSG is a team to watch in the summer. Obviously, they want to build that stadium,
yeah.
and Qatar Sports Investments is looking to
Mhm.
maybe if their experiment is gonna fail there, they might be looking to sell the club. So that might
Right.
be something to watch for.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Maybe they try to buy one of the Premier League clubs up for sale. You never know, right? Because
Well, they've
that's
been
what.
linked to the possibility of Manchester United a couple of times. But,
Yeah, yeah. There's a few teams up for sale, right? I believe Everton's up for sale,
mhm.
and Liverpool's looking for some
Yeah.
secondary backers, which I don't
Right,
know. I don't know if you're gonna really get that. Might as well just sell the team.
right. Yeah, people are hesitant to say, yeah, give me, you know, half $1 billion. By the way, you've got 12%. It's yeah, usually, usually that's not how it works. But you see, it's funny. I was on the radio in Nashville yesterday, and we were supposedly talking about sports rights, TV rights, and they were saying what a wonderful situation they were having there with the MLS team. And I'm thinking, these dudes are your basic SEC cold hard, you know, basic guys who the last thing you would think out of their mouths would be soccer. And because when it's football, it's Tennessee football down there, volunteer football. So, I was pleased, but I was somewhat surprised that two talk show hosts. Normally, and you know this for a fact, in the United States, soccer and talk show hosts are not ever in the same sentence when it comes to sports talk. I mean, because sports talk hosts, if you're not paying attention, please don't. They're lazy. Okay, they only want to talk about stuff they like and stuff they know. They don't want to talk about anything or educate themselves on it. So people keep saying, "Well, why don't you talk about soccer?" Well, they don't because half of these people, don't know anything about it and don't care to know anything about it. So the audience that's out there that they could cultivate has no interest in listening to it.
Yeah, absolutely, right. It's all about you don't want to talk about a subject that you don't know much about, and you see a lot of that. But the fact that they were interested in soccer, I think, just
Mhm.
shows how the game is growing in not
Yeah.
only the country, the entire continent of North America. So
Mhm.
give it some few more times. I just a few more years. Sorry, I just found out that the Arizona Cardinals are going to be hosting the CONCACAF Gold Cup, so
Oh,
that'll be
okay.
interesting. Yep, they'll be having that in their arena right after Michael Bidwell sells the team, because now all this crap is coming out about how he's abusive and has a bad workplace environment. So I say, bring on the sale.
Well, if they can do it for Daniel Snyder, they can do it for him. It's only taken a dozen years to get to this point, but okay.
I
Oh,
hope we don't have to wait that long to get rid of this
well,
guy.
if you think about it, the Bidwells have owned that team all the way back to Chicago. We're talking about the 30s, 40s. That franchise has been in the Bidwell family for decades, and it's amazing. But yeah, if, they have been known to be a little, let's just say, frugal, and leave it at that. So there you go on that situation for sure. Let's talk a little baseball. Any surprises early on for you in the
I
game?
mean, the 10-0 Rays are
Well,
a
yeah,
massive
that's a surprise.
surprise, right? Who would have thought that
Who'd have
they
thunk it? Yeah,
not even so much that they're 10-0, because if you look at the schedule they
right,
had, it's pretty easy, but just the fact that, they're the only undefeated MLB team left, and
right,
there's nobody that close. Like, there's no 9-1 teams or
right.
whatever. I think there might be an 8-2.
I think there was an two. Yeah, I'll look at the
Yeah,
standings, but it's
but I know
yeah,
the Brewers are like 7-3 or something. But yeah, there's some man, the Rays getting out to that hot start.
yep. Um, your Jays and Yankees are tied 4 games out of 6-4
Yeah,
in
see what I mean? There's a lot of those like mediocre 6-4, 5-6
yeah.
records out there.
The Guardians are 7-4, so yay them. And let's see, let's go down in the Wild Wild West, where nobody wants to win. The Rangers are 6-4, the Angels are 5-5, the Astros are 5-6, and the Mariners are 4-7 with the Angels. I'm sorry, with the A's.
You
Basically,
don't you don't need to mention that. There's only 4 teams in that division.
yeah, not a good look. They won 2 games,
The triple AAs, the
right?
quadruple A's.
Well, you were in Vegas, so you were where their AAA farm club was.
Yeah, you mean where they're going to be, where their actual
Yeah,
team's going to be in
they're
two
actually going to be
years?
there in a couple of years. The Braves are 7-4. The Mets are 6-5. Phillies 4-6. Nationals and Mariners are 4-7. The Brew Crew 7-3. That's not a bad record. Buccos, Tampa. We got the Pirates there at 6-4. Cubs 5-4. Reds 4-5. Cardinals, surprising uh, tank at this moment at 3-7. Out west, the Diamondbacks lead the Padres and the Dodgers by a game, and the Rockies by 2, and the Giants by 2.5. So there's your early sports report on the standings in Major League Baseball. I watched Otani pitch the other day, which he was quite solid. He had put in a good outing. Um, is there a lot of people that are doing the first 5 on the Angels when he pitches, or is that something that you kind of stay away from?
I mean, it all depends on who
I know
the
who they're
other
playing. Yeah,
pitcher is,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes if the other team has a bad bullpen, then you want
Mhm.
to take the full game because you never know what's going to happen. But yeah,
Mhm.
if these two good bullpens, then I love taking first 5 with some of these starters, because
Mhm.
they're going to at least go the 5 innings. So
Mhm.
unless they just get blown up, you're not going to get thrown any curveballs. And at that point, if they get blown up, you're probably not coming back. But you never
Right.
know, right? There's been some crazy comebacks.
Oh yeah. So let's talk a second. What's in game betting in baseball?
In-game betting. Well, I mean, there's so many different props you can bet by the inning if you want to. If someone's
Really?
going to score in the inning, if someone, yeah, basically right before you can. I've seen, right, if you're really on top of it, I've seen, like, is whoever's at bat, is he going to get a hit? Is he going to strike out? There's things like that. But yeah, and then there's, just the regular markets if you want to take a team live when they're down, if you want to take the total. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's tons of live betting markets for sure with the
Huh.
baseball. And they have that for a lot of sports, like even with the NFL, when you're
Mhm.
watching it, they'll have like what's going to happen on this drive, how will it end, field goal, punt, touchdown. They have it in basketball. Is the next basket going to be 2 or 3 points?
Wow.
So yeah, you could bet on every shot if you wanted to.
Okay. Speaking of that, the playoffs begin tonight, and there's going to be some pretty good matchups right off the get go. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
the NBA desperately wanted LeBron and the Lakers, and they got him. How long they stay in is another question, but there's that.
well, they're getting the Rudy Gobert Timberwolves in this first
Right.
game, so they'll probably end up in a series.
So, is there anybody that from the West that wins this thing from standpoint of overall championship? I mean, I thought this year was pretty stacked.
Yeah, the West. I mean, it's interesting because obviously you have the Nuggets
Right.
with the best record. They were the number
Mhm.
one seed. They didn't finish the season playing great. That was when they started to pick up some injuries and they were resting Jokic in a
Mhm.
lot of games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. The Grizzlies have been a strong team all year, but
Mhm.
they had the Ja Morant incident. Obviously, he's back playing now, but these are all distractions. The Suns, I've heard a lot of talk about the Suns now that they have Kevin Durant, and they've looked incredible with Durant in the lineup. So
Mhm.
it's tough not to back this Suns team, especially when the Clippers are going to be missing Paul George in the first few games.
Mhm.
I don't know how much he's going to miss, but yeah, and I mean, like the Pelicans, even if you want to go like lower in the table, we got the Pelicans who they weren't great, but they stayed competitive while missing Zion Williamson for a lot of the year, and he's supposed to be coming back mid-April, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But if they make it into a playoff series, they could be a dangerous team. They were a very good team at home this year.
Yeah.
Um,
It's definitely there's a lot of crazy going on out there.
yeah, and then obviously the Sacramento Kings too. But
Mhm.
that'll be an interesting one because they got to take on the defending champions in the first series here, and as bad as the Warriors have been on the road,
And they've been bad.
playoffs are a different story, right?
Mhm.
It's still the same guys that won the championship last year, so you don't want to count this team out, especially against a Sacramento team that, yes, they were very good this year. They won the division, but this is still a team that, like, they just put themselves together like near the end of last season. They've been making trades and moves to put this team together, give De'Aaron Fox some support, and they don't have really a lucrative history in the recent playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see what the Kings do for sure. That's a team I'd like to watch.
Yeah. It's uh, a lot of people forget that play teams like the Warriors are just playing the regular season to get to the playoffs. You know,
Pretty
it's
much.
they I mean, I'm not saying they don't want to win the division. I'm just saying it doesn't hurt them. They'll set guys just for resting period.
Yeah, and for them, it's one of those things where they really have nothing to prove.
Mhm.
These guys have won multiple championships with the team.
Mhm.
Obviously, they had those off years where the key guys were injured, but
Mhm.
they came back last year. Everybody still had them as a bad team. Uh, they were the best team in the NBA last year, even without Clay Thompson. Before they got him back, they were
Mhm.
still leading the way, and they went on to win the championship. So really, yeah, they squeaked in the sixth spot, but the playoffs is a whole
Mhm.
different animal, and they're definitely not a team to count out with their history, and they have nothing to prove. That's why you can't really take what
Mhm.
they did in the regular season seriously.
Yeah, and you just sit back and go, wait a minute, how come they didn't play like this, during the season? and that comes in an awful lot at this, these situations.
And we've talked a lot about that, how it's a problem in the entire
Mhm.
NBA, right? It's just
Right.
it's like a laziness. They don't play defense in the regular season, and you end up getting these situations where so you have the top four teams in each conference, and then below that, everybody's pretty much around the 500 mark.
Mhm.
So that's how you end up with that. And then obviously, the playoffs being a different animal, that's when the teams really start to play their best games. The defense comes out, and it's usually the teams with that good defensive play that end up making going the distance, making the deep run.
And you can't argue with them. It's like, okay, it works for them. The team, the regular season's meaningless, evidently, but we'll just have to see how it goes. But no, I wouldn't count the Warriors out, but in any stretch of imagination. And they only have to go. What it's about? Maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive from the Bay Area over to Sacramento.
Yeah, not a big travel, and that's the other thing is like they were a 1 point favorite to open up, and now I think they're a 1 point dog in that first game. And if you actually look at the Kings, yeah, Golden State's been bad on the road, but this is the playoffs, and the Kings were actually a worse team at home than they were on the road this year. They had more road wins than home wins. So
No, it's
some teams don't play at home. Look
no.
at the Knicks. They were a road team as well.
There for some reason there are teams that just don't play well, in their own build. Um, a lot of times, so it's kind of like where they've got trauma going on. Stuff at home is what maybe there's arguments in the locker room. Maybe the coach is a pain in the neck, whatever. It just seems like when you're on the road, you don't have to worry about home. You're a little more relaxed, and who knows what goes on.
Yeah, that's actually a great point to make, because a lot of the times you see these teams go on like a road trip and they win all 4 or 5 games on the road trip, and then they come back home and they get smashed in that first game back home, because that's when they just got back from the road trip and they have to put out all the fires at home.
Right. Which can include just being around your own house.
Yeah, no, exactly, right? That's what I mean. You come home and you haven't seen the kids, your spouse in so long, right? And for some of these guys, right? Not everybody, but yeah, that's what I mean. It's a lot of like family fires. I've had to deal with the kids the last week. It's your turn.
Right. Well, and the other thing too is a lot of these guys, their home isn't, where there's the city they're playing in. They either have an apartment or a condo or something there. And so there are occasions they'll come home and then the family will be visiting. So, you got, like you said, you got to take the kids to school today. Don't care if you have game night. That's not a problem. You do what you got to do. Um, it it is an interesting thing, you know, on
No,
all of that aspect. But it's going to be fun. And what we've said that you don't, even in playoffs, you don't have to watch the last 5 minutes of the NBA games to do it. So take a breath, folks. You don't have to watch them all. Just get there. I would check in halftime because I enjoy Charles and Shaq pounding on each other. But other than that, will be entertaining.
oh
So
yeah.
absolutely. And so what you got tonight? You want to give some people some interesting stuff to mess around with because the games get ready here to kick off in a couple of minutes.
Well, for the soccer, I mean, you know, I think the over in maybe this Man City game, the over 2.5 is about -150 right now, but I think you could probably see a high scoring game here. Now the thing is, Bayern just sacked their manager and hired Tuchel, and he's a very defensive style coach, but he's not gonna just turn that team on its head right away. It's going to
Mhm.
take some time. This has been a team with such a bad defense for so long. They're so attack oriented that I could definitely see some goals, considering Man City has scored at least 4 goals in the last 4 straight home matches. They had a 7-0 win, 6-1, 6-0, 4-1, and 4-1. So This team is rolling right now, so I could definitely see some goals in that one.
A lot of, I mean, they've been scoring both early and late. You
Yeah.
don't see that often either. Most of the time, as the old saying goes. But yeah, it's interesting. It is absolutely going to be an interesting season. Not season, an interesting final four to the final four, as the old saying goes. So we'll have a final four tonight. When it's all over, next couple of days.
Well, there'll be another
Mm-hmm.
leg, obviously, but it'll be interesting for sure. These will be some big matches for some of these teams.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And if you're suggesting to people, are you one of those people that you sit there and go, okay, wait a minute, it's a big match, but these guys don't have to play their guys to win. So, how important is paying attention to the roster on these games as you get, weeding down to the final grouping?
It's definitely very important. Now, obviously, in this being the Champions League and the quarterfinals,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going to be very focused on this match, and you're probably going to get your best lineups, your best players out there, because the home teams want to get out to a lead here, and the away teams want to go back home for the second leg, not down. But absolutely, that's the thing you got to look at, especially in some of these, smaller cup matches and things like that. You got to be aware of like, this team doesn't care about the cup
Mm-hmm.
match. They got a more important one on the weekend. You're going to get a bad lineup in this one. Or maybe it's a match they do care about, and you're going to get the good lineup because they're playing a weaker team in the league, and they think they can get by playing the backups there. So there's always a ton to watch in these games for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta keep up on everything with the lineups and know the situation, what these teams are playing, who they just played, who they're playing 2 matches from now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything on baseball tonight? Anything that?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Diamondbacks at plus 105. This was plus 125 yesterday, and it dropped to plus 105. But I'm fading Corbin Burns. Like, I know he was the Brewers' ace last year, but he's not off to a good start this year. He's given up 10 runs in about nine innings and a third this season.
Yeah, bad spring even.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It for me with Corbin Burns this year, it's the headspace he's in. He felt disrespected by the Brewers
Mm-hmm.
after arbitration in the offseason, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's necessarily playing at his best. Maybe just because his head's not in the game, he feels disrespected by the team. There's obviously a disconnect between him and the front office right now,
Right.
and it's shown. It's showed up in spring training. It showed up in his first 2 starts now, and these Diamondbacks are hot, man. They won
Right.
last night. They won 3 straight against the Dodgers to win that series. They're scoring runs, so
The first place in the division.
yeah, and you know what? Merrill Kelly was the Diamondbacks ace last year. He
Mm-hmm.
was really good, so I'm gonna trust him to get the job done. Hop on that. It's still plus money because that might go down even more by the time that game
Some of
goes
these
tonight.
guys, some of these pitchers this time of the year are a problem because you just came from 80 degrees and sunny every day to 40 degrees and wind. Um, but he plays. I mean, Arizona plays inside, so that shouldn't be a problem. But no, the Diamondbacks got out of the gate pretty well, and so we'll see.
Yeah,
That's
leading the division, and they're going to be looking to keep that lead as long as possible with some of those monster teams in there. So
well. I mean, they're hoping, and it happens that they beat up on each other. That keeps all of them close.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you remember a couple of years ago, um, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Rays all finished above 90 games, wins, and they just beat up on the Orioles and the Blue Jays.
Yep.
And I guess now you're going to have to beat up on other people to get to the Blue Jays and the Orioles because you're not playing your division 19 times. So.
And that's the thing with the Rays, right? Like you can
Yeah.
say whatever you want, come back in July and
Mhm.
see where this Rays team is at. But the fact of the matter is, everybody is still around 500, 10 games into the season, and they're 10-0. And you know what? They took advantage of beating up on the bad teams.
Mhm.
So that's what you have to do in this league. And if they continue to do that, then there's no doubt they're going to win the division over the Yankees and the Blue Jays, because really their pitching is better and they're scoring runs like crazy. Now, obviously, they've been
Mhm.
playing some bad teams, so we'll see maybe when they run into some good pitching. But that's the thing; they have the pitching staff to win these low scoring pitching duel to kind of games too.
And at the end of the day, you just have to have um, you just have to be consistent. We talked about when in '84 when the Tigers won, they were 24 and 4, 24 and 6, something like that, in their first 30 plus games. You're not gonna. That's gonna take. You have to play 700 ball to even come close to that. So we talked about the myth that you can't win a title in April, and you can't. Now, I'm not sitting here saying the Rays are going to the World Series. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it can be done if you dig everybody else a grave, that you can't get out of.
Yeah, it's all about taking advantage of the games ahead of you, and
Right,
that's exactly what the Rays have done.
right. One day at a time. That's what they say. All right. Any final thoughts? We'll get you out of here in half an hour today.
No, just let's go watch the Champions League games and enjoy. It should be two really good matches, no matter which one you want to watch, or if you're like me and you're gonna watch both.
There you go. Well, I'm Jim. He's Amadeus. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And enjoy the game today. All right. Take care. Bye bye.